Assalamu alaikum. Hope everyone is doing well. Today we'll be going over the prohibition verb. So previously we learned how to create command verbs, and this is going to be super similar to that. So just like commands, a prohibition is given to someone who is present or in front of you. So the conjugations are going to be limited to the second person. It's possible to prohibit someone in the third or first person, but you have to use additional words such as must or should, but we won't be going into that right now. So let's take a look at the pattern of a prohibition verb. So a pattern for a prohibition verb is a mix between the pattern for a present tense verb and the command verb. What you'll have is a verb in the second person present tense form, and the last letter will get a sukun, and then you just have the la of prohibition in the front. So that's basically it. It's fairly simple. Let's see how we can construct it. So first you want to start with a present tense second person verb. Here we have taf'alu. Next, all you have to do is add a sukun at the end. So now it becomes taf'al. And then next, all you have to do is add the la of prohibition to the front. Now it becomes la taf'al. And now this is a prohibition verb. So now let's take a look at a few examples. Here we have taktubu, which means you're writing. So this is in the second person present tense form. And all we have to do is put a sukun at the end. So now it becomes taktub. And then all we need to do is put a la of negation at the front. So now it becomes la taktub, which means don't write. Now let's take a look at another example. Here we have Taftahu, which means you're opening. Again, this is in the second person present tense form. And then all we have to do is put a sukun at the end. So this becomes taftah. And then all we need to do is add the la of prohibition to the front. And then this becomes la taftah. And now it's a prohibition verb, which means don't open. And then next we have the Nun and Sukun rule. This is the same thing that we learned last time for commands, but we're just applying it to prohibitions now. So if you have a conjugation with a Nun at the end, and if you put a Sukun on it, the Nun will be dropped. So La tansurani will become La tansura. So the Nun is dropped. Same thing here. La tansuruna becomes La tansuru, because if you put a Sukun on the Nun, then it'll be dropped. And then same thing here, la tansurina becomes la tansuri. Again, nun is dropped. The only exception for when the nun is not dropped is when you have the nun of femininity. So like right here with la tansurna, it still becomes la tansurna. And that's because of the nun of femininity, which is on the end of the female plural present tense verb. Now let's take a look at a few examples. Here we have Taktubani, which means you both are writing, and this is in the second person present tense dual form. And now since we have a noon ending, when we put a sukun on it, the noon is going to be dropped, so it becomes taktuba, and then all we have to do is add the la of negation to the front. So this becomes la taktuba, so this means both of you don't write. Another example, here we have Taftahuna, which means you all are opening. And again, this is second person present tense plural form. So again, noon ending, if we put a sukun on it, it gets dropped. So this becomes Taftahu. And then all we have to do is add the la of negation to the front. So this becomes La Taftahu. So it means all of you don't open. And another example, we have then Surina, which means you are helping. Again, second person present tense. This is singular feminine. So again, noon ending, it gets dropped. So this becomes Tansuri. And then all we have to do is add a la of negation to the front. So now it's la tansuri, so it means you don't help. And now let's take a look at the conjugation table. So here we have la tansur, which is the second person masculine singular form. And again, we have the sukun at the end. And then we have the la of prohibition at the front. This is the harf that gives the connotation of don't. So this becomes you don't help. And then again, for dual, we have the same thing. We have la tansura. And remember, the noon is dropped because we put a sukun on it. And then again, la of prohibition at the front. So this becomes both of you don't help. And same thing with the plural form, where you have la tansuru. Again, noon is dropped because we put a sukun on it. Then you have the la of prohibition. So this becomes all of you don't help. And again, the same thing with the second person feminine singular form. We have la tansuri. Again, noon is dropped because we put a sukun on it. You have the la of prohibition at the front. So this becomes you don't help. And again, same thing here with the dual. You have la tansura. Noon is dropped because we put a sukun on it, and then now prohibition at the front. So this becomes both of you don't help. And then for second person feminine plural, we have la tansurna. And here the noon isn't dropped because this is the noon of femininity. So we keep it, and this means all of you don't help. And that's all for today. So I'll see you guys next time.